War makes men mad. Emile Chajon. This is a very powerful quote from the game Valiant Hearts, The Great War. This quote was made by the protagonist just before he's about to be sentenced to death. But let's go back to the beginning and why this game made the whole gaming community cry. The year is 2014. There were a lot of expectations for the E3 of this year. It was the 20th edition of E3. There were over 40,000 attendees and people were impatient for what was to come. And it did not disappoint. It was a year packed with games. There were game reveals like Uncharted 4, Bloodborne, Forza Horizon 2, Far Cry 4, and of course, Game of the Year, Dragon Age, Inquisition, and many more. But because of all of these big titles, Valiant Hearts, The Great War trailer went under the radar during the E3 showcase, until the game got released, and the videos and reviews started coming.
Top of the morning to you ladies, my name is Jacksepticeye and welcome to Valiant Hearts, The Great War.
Hello there everybody and welcome to Valiant Hearts, The Great War.
Welcome to Valiant Hearts, The Great War.
The team behind the project thought 2014 was a great year to release the game because it was the centenary of World War I. They wanted to make a game that centered in its story more than its gameplay. As many of the developers said, they've been moved by the events of the war because their grandparents have been involved in it. The game's setting is in France in 1914 when World War I started. In a little farm in the outskirts, there lived a family, but one of them was German. His name is Karl, and had to leave behind his wife, Marie, and son, Victor, to join the German army. Later on, Marie's father, Emile, is drafted into the French army, and that's how the story begins. As Emile starts his training as a soldier, on top of your screen there's a tab called Facts, where you can read about real events that happened during the war. The developers wanted the game to be as historically accurate as possible, so as to ensure that they listened about war stories from their family members, read letters written by soldiers, and traveled to the trenches in France. There's also collectibles where you can collect and read a little story about them. Continuing with the story, after Emile is done with his training, he's sent to combat during the Battle of Frontiers, which then his whole platoon gets wiped out, and he gets injured and captured by the German forces. He is forced to work as a cook for the enemy. He falls under the control of Baron von Dorf, a ruthless commander who relies on terrifying new technologies, such as poison gas and zeppelins, to overpower his enemies. While serving under von Dorf, Karl unexpectedly encounters Emile. Before the two can reunite properly, Allied troops attack the camp, forcing Karl to retreat. Emile survives the chaos after being pulled from the wreckage by Walt, a German medical dog, and both manage to escape. Soon afterward, he meets Freddy, an American volunteer fighting for France after his wife has been killed in an air raid ordered by von Dorf. Freddy and Emile eventually cross paths with Anna, a Belgian veterinary student who also works as a nurse on the battlefield. She has her own reason for hunting down Baron von Dorf. He has kidnapped her father and is forcing him to design powerful new weapons for the war. Together, the trio pursues von Dorf across war-torn Europe, following the Zeppelin from Ypres to Reims. Although the airship is destroyed in a crash, von Dorf manages to flee in a biplane with Anna's father. Karl survives the disaster as well, but is captured and sent to a prisoner of war camp. Anna stays by his side during his recovery from serious injuries. Still determined to stop von Dorf, Freddy and Emile continue the chase. Their search leads them to Fog du Amont at Verdun, where von Dorf is hiding. During the assault, they seize his new invention, an enormous armored tank, but they successfully rescue Anna's father at the end, though von Dorf escapes once more. Later, during the Battle of the Somme, Freddy finally catches up with him. The two fight hand to hand on top of the wrecked tank, and Freddy defeats him. However, despite wanting revenge for his wife's death, Freddy decides not to kill von Dorf, realizing it will bring him no peace. Because of his repeated failures, von Dorf is disgraced, stripped of his status, and removed from the front lines, which is a humiliation he considers worse than death. At the same time, Carl, imprisoned in a French POW camp, learns that his son has become seriously ill. Desperate to see his family again, he escapes. Emil, unaware of Carl's survival, believes he died during his attempt. Carl later reunites with Anna, who helps him travel back to his home in the occupied town of San Miguel, but both are captured by German troops before they can reach safety. During another Allied offensive, Carl manages to escape and return to his farm, only to discover it has been attacked with chlorine gas. He saves Marie by giving her his gas mask, sacrificing his own safety in the process. Anna arrives in time to save Carl's life, and after recovering, he is finally reunited with Marie and Victor after years of separation and hardship. Elsewhere in the battlefield, Emil is forced to participate in the disastrous Nivelle offensive. After watching countless soldiers needlessly die because of his commander's reckless orders, Emil snaps and strikes the officer with a shovel, accidentally killing him. He is arrested, tried for court-martial, and sentenced to death despite other soldiers defending his actions. As he is being led away to be executed, Freddy and the surviving soldiers salute him in respect. In a final letter to Marie, Emil condemns the cruelty of war, mourns what he believes to be Carl's death, and expresses hope that his family may still find peace and happiness. Then he is killed. Sometime later, Carl, Marie, Victor, and Walt the dog visit Emil's grave to honor his memory. The story concludes in 1917 as the United States officially joins World War I and sends troops to fight on the Western Front. Valiant Hearts, The Great War, is important because it shows the human side of war in a way many history books and war games do not. Instead of focusing on winning battles or becoming a hero, the game focuses on ordinary people whose lives are destroyed and changed by World War I. Through its characters, such as soldiers, civilians, and a medic, players see fear, loss, friendship, and sacrifice from multiple perspectives. The game is also important because it teaches history in an emotional and interactive way. Players learn about real events, weapons, trench conditions, and the suffering of soldiers while actively experiencing the story. This makes World War I feel personal instead of distant. Many players remember the emotional moments of the game long after finishing it, which shows how storytelling can make history more meaningful. Another reason the game matters is its message about humanity. Even though the characters come from different countries fighting against each other, the game emphasizes compassion and connection rather than hatred. It reminds players that wars are fought by real people, with families, hopes, and fears. That message is especially valuable today because it encourages empathy in understanding instead of glorifying violence.
Even though their bodies have long since returned to dust, their sacrifice still lives on. We must strive to cherish their memory and never forget.
This message captures the heart of Valiant Hearts, the Great War, and its importance. The game reminds players that behind every war are people who suffered, sacrificed, and lost their lives. By telling an emotional and human story, it keeps the memories of those affected by World War I alive for a new generation. Through its powerful storytelling and historical message, the game shows why remembering the past is essential so that tragedies of war are never ignored or repeated.
Dearest Marie, as the war ends for me, I have no regrets. I've seen too much horror. I hope fate has been more merciful to you. Our time on Earth is brief, and mine has been filled with so much joy that I can only be thankful for how much I've been blessed, most especially for the wonder you brought into my life. This letter is my last. I've been found guilty by a military court for the death of an officer. It was not my intention to kill him. War makes men mad. Though I failed Carl, I know my sacrifice has not been in vain. I fought for my country and my liberty. My honor is assured. Since it is the will of God to separate us on earth, I hope we'll meet again in heaven. Keep me in your prayers. Your loving Papa. Always.
There's a first for everything, like a hand holding mine. Now I'm left here with the pain from her I love you goodbye. And though it hurts to watch my whole world become the woman she would be, the thing that I forgot would set her free. I taught her how